Hey, my fabulous listeners. It's your girl Laila here, welcoming you back to another episode of Skill and Chill, your go-to podcast for the real talk about today's burning issues, brought to you by sqillsite.com. In each episode, we dive into the inspiring topics that can enrich the world of freelancing and entrepreneurship. Whether you're looking to showcase your talent or connect with top professionals, sqillsite.com is your platform to thrive without any commission fees. You know how we do it here. No fluff, just straight up chilled out convos. Now we're peeling back the glossy exterior of something that's been sold to us as the ultimate work dream, the gig economy. Oh yeah, we're going beyond the flexibility, the be your own boss mantra, and we're diving deep. Stick around as we explore the twists, turns, and the not so glamorous side of gig work. Ready to get real? Let's get into it. When we talk about work in our modern era, there's a buzzword you can hardly escape: the gig economy. Let's unpack that, shall we? The very idea twinkles with promise. A digital nomad sipping a latte in a Parisian cafe, clicking away on a laptop, or your next-door neighbor who juggles multiple odd jobs and still makes it to all the family dinners. That's the dream, folks, the allure of gig work. So what's the big draw? First up, flexibility. The ability to choose when you work, where you work from, and what kind of work you do. Gosh, doesn't that sound like the ultimate employment buffet? With the gig economy, you could potentially roll out of bed at noon and start your workday in your PJs. No judging stares from colleagues, no racing against peak hour traffic. You are the master of the clock, and that's a powerful magnet for many. Then there's the variety, the spice of the working life, right? Imagine ditching the monotony of the same task, the same cubicle, the same water cooler chit-chat every single day, and instead hopping from project to project, each with its unique flavor. You could be a graphic designer by day, a tutor by evening, and an Uber driver at night. Endless possibilities that can be fine-tuned to your interests and skills. Not to forget the ease of entry. There's something incredibly freeing about bypassing the traditional job hunt with its resumes, stuffy interviews, and nerve-wracking waits for a callback. Here, in Gigland, a well-crafted profile on a platform can open floodgates of opportunities. No need for the gatekeepers of yesteryear. Now it's between you, the client, and the click of a button. And let's talk dough. Yes, money. There's a chance for some serious cash if you play your cards right. Those with sought-after skills or who can navigate the gig platforms like pros might just rake in more than the typical 9-5 job. The potential of that lucrative takeaway is a beacon for those looking for an escape from the salary cap of traditional employment. So yeah, it almost seems like a no-brainer why so many are ditching the cubicle for the cafe, the rigid schedules for a Google Calendar speckled with personal freedom. It's a canvas of self-employment that promises a work-life blend tailored to personal preference. And while the color and vibe of gig work appear dazzling at a glance, it's worth considering what lies beneath that glitter. Is it gold, or is it a bit of fool's gold? That's what we're here to find out. Stay tuned as we dive deeper and see what's lurking under that gleaming surface. So, we've painted a picture of the gig economy's shiny exterior. Its freedom, flexibility, and the oh-so-appealing notion of being your own boss. But let's scratch beneath that surface, delve a little deeper, and uncover what's lurking underneath, because there's quite a bit more to the story. When you take on gig work, you're stepping into a world with very little job security. There's no guarantee of work tomorrow, next week, or even a few hours from now. It's a world that's always on and where the only constant is change. This might sound exhilarating to some, but for anyone who's looking for a stable paycheck to plan their life around, it can be a downright nightmare. Gig workers often float from one job to the next, and while this can lead to a diverse portfolio of experiences, it doesn't exactly lead to a steady income. There are times when you can't seem to catch a break and the work just keeps rolling in. But then there are the droughts, the slow seasons, where you find yourself biting your nails, wondering if you'll be able to cover your rent or make that next car payment. And let's talk about benefits, or more accurately, the lack thereof. Traditional full-time employment comes with a safety net: health insurance, paid leave, retirement plans. In the gig economy, that net is conspicuously absent. Gig workers are generally considered independent contractors, which means they're on their own when it comes to the perks that many employees take for granted. No sick leave means that a bad flu could spell unpaid days off and a gaping hole in your monthly earnings. No health insurance can mean a single accident or illness leads to devastating medical bills. And retirement plans? For many gig workers, the idea of putting away savings for the golden years can seem like a distant luxury when every dollar earned is needed right now. This is the stark reality for many in the gig workforce. Sure, the flexibility is there. You can take a day off whenever you like, pick the projects that interest you, and work from wherever you want. But without job security and benefits, that flexibility comes at a very high cost, one that many are paying without fully realizing it until it's too late. On the surface, being your own boss in the gig economy sounds like living the dream, right? I mean, you choose when to work, where to work from, and what jobs to take. But let's talk about the not-so-fun part: income instability. It's like riding a roller coaster, except you can't see the next turn. And sometimes that turn is a steep drop in earnings. So you're a gig worker. You've had a good month. Clients are pouring in, and the cash flow is steadier than a metronome. Life's good. But then, out of nowhere, it's like everyone simultaneously decided they don't need your services anymore. Projects dry up, and so does your income. Unlike traditional jobs with a fixed salary at the end of the month, no matter what, gig work earnings can be as unpredictable as the weather. Let's not forget about those slow times too. Maybe it's the off-season for your industry, or there's just a market dip. Regardless, the bills don't care if you're making less. They're as regular as clockwork. Rent, utilities, groceries. The necessities don't have an off-season. And when we think about income unpredictability, we must also consider the lack of benefits. No sick leave, no paid vacation, no health insurance unless you fork out the big bucks for an individual plan. It's daunting, right? Every day off is a day without pay. You catch the flu, and there's no safety net of paid sick leave to catch you. Then there's retirement planning. As a gig worker, if you're not squirreling money away into a retirement fund, who will? There's no employer to match your contributions. Planning for the future becomes an extra job in itself. The freedom that comes with gig work also carries a hefty price tag of financial unpredictability. It's a package deal. You want to hustle on your own terms, but sometimes it feels like you're gambling with your livelihood. The trade-off is real, and it's a crucial part of the gig economy that often gets overlooked amidst the glamorization of being your boss. So what's your safety net? Well, that's a good question. It comes down to a mix of careful planning, building a diverse client base, and always keeping an eye out for the next opportunity. You've got to be nimble, proactive, and sometimes a bit of a fortune teller, trying to predict which way the wind will blow in an ever-changing marketplace. Now, let's dive into something that's a bit less talked about, but seriously important: the potential for exploitation within the gig economy. You see, the very nature of gig work, which is often piecemeal and lacks long-term commitments from employers, creates an environment ripe for exploitation. Let me throw a hypothetical at you. Imagine you're a gig worker who finds a job via a popular app. The job pays well, and you're excited about getting started. But after a few hours in, you realize the task is way more complex and time-consuming than the description indicated. You complete the work, but to your dismay, you're paid for the original estimated time, not the actual hours you put in. Due to the gig's nature, there's little recourse for you to argue your case. Sounds unfair? Well, this is a reality for many in the gig world, and it doesn't end there. There are real-life stories like delivery drivers working for app-based services. They're often considered independent contractors, which means they're expected to cover their vehicle's costs, from fuel to maintenance. When you factor in these expenses, their take-home pay can fall below minimum wage. But guess what? They aren't covered by minimum wage laws since they're not classified as employees. Worse yet, these gig platforms can have rating systems that hold more power over a worker's livelihood than you'd think. A couple of bad reviews from customers, sometimes for things completely outside the gig worker's control, and they could see a significant drop in available work. The pressure to provide service that's above and beyond, often at personal cost, is immense. The shakiness in worker classification doesn't just hit the wallet, it goes beyond financials, affecting legal rights and protections. Think no overtime pay, no workers' compensation for injuries on the job, and no unemployment insurance if things go south. This can be tough, especially during slow periods or, say, a global pandemic. Look, being your boss in the gig economy can feel empowering. Still, there's a dark side to this moon when the lack of regulations presents opportunities for exploitation. As gig work continues to grow, it's crucial to consider these challenges and push for change to protect our modern workforce. All right, we've covered some ground today, haven't we? Let's take a moment to pull it all together. The gig economy sure has a glossy exterior, promising flexibility and the chance to be your own boss. But as we've seen, that shine can quickly tarnish when you factor in the hard truths of job insecurity and the absence of traditional employment benefits. For many gig workers, the cost of free rein is steep. Income instability can lead to stress and uncertainty. And without a safety net, think health insurance, paid leave, or retirement plans, any setback can have serious consequences for a gig worker's financial and mental well-being. The darker side can border on exploitation too, with workers sometimes pushed into long hours for little pay and without the security that comes with a steady job. To my fellow gig workers out there, it's crucial to weigh these challenges against the perks and to push for changes that bring about much-needed protections and benefits in the gig economy. So think on it, share your stories, and let's foster a conversation that sparks real change. After all, the future of work is here, and it's in our hands to shape it. And just like that, we've reached the end of another episode here at sqillNChill. Big thanks to all of you for tuning in and taking this deep dive with us. If today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your career, head over to sqillsite.com and create your professional profile today. At sqillsite.com, we empower you to connect directly with clients, keep 100% of your earnings, and manage your projects your way. Don't forget, sqillsite.com is more than just a marketplace. It's a community where your creativity has no limits. Join us at sqillsite.com and let's make great things happen together. Until next time, I'm Laila, signing off. Stay curious, folks.